Assassins are supposed to be killers, silent and invisible to their targets until the time to strike. And when they move, they step with the precision of a mathematical equation. Every sway is calculated, every breath has its purpose. However, since assassins are also people, individuals with different experiences and ideals, oftentimes there will be someone in their ranks who would seem to adhere to a contradictory code. One such person would be Emmanuel Barraza, a member of the modern-day assassins who have vowed to the philosophy of pacifism, which causes him to avoid violence and ultimately assassinating or killing. And at first glance, it would seem he is not a fit for a brotherhood that literally calls themselves assassins. But let's take a closer look to who Emmanuel Barraza is and why he is a pacifist. Before we properly begin, I want to first note that all information about Emmanuel Barraza comes from Assassin's Creed Initiates, which are all recorded in the Assassin's Creed fandom wiki. With that said, let's start with Emmanuel's background before becoming an assassin. He used to be in the military, though not much information is available regarding his stay there. All we know is that somehow he came into contact with the Brotherhood during that time in his life and became dedicated to their cause, probably due to their pursuit of freedom and peace. And as a sign of this devotion, he even embedded the assassin's logo into his dog tag. Later, perhaps after he left the military, he then joined the Assassin's Brotherhood. Emmanuel, or Manny as his comrades refer to him, became a pacifist very early in his career as an assassin. You see, during his very first mission as an official Brotherhood member, he was tasked by William Miles to locate and intercept a Templar presence trying to influence the War on Terror. However, in his mission to stop the Templars and ensure the completion of a peace talk, which would help in the resolution of the War on Terror, he was forced to kill innocents. He found himself with the choice of either letting a bus full of bomb-rigged children disrupt the peace conference, or killing them himself to prevent any mishappenings. Now, I did try to look for more information about this to have a more visual idea of what happened, but I couldn't. But I think the obvious situation here was that Emmanuel might have redirected the bus to a cliff or something, which then exploded away from the conference. This would have prevented the peace talks from becoming another reason for more violence, but at the cost of Emmanuel letting children die. Now, looking at the bigger picture, perhaps Emmanuel did the best thing for the world. Since if he let that bus reach the conference and killed more people, more horrible things will probably happen and might have lengthened the war further. However, despite that quote-unquote heroic deed, Emmanuel was consumed by regret, guilt, and self-frustration. I mean, who wouldn't? The choice he made was almost impossible, but thankfully he had the will to do it. Still, he knew that he killed innocents, perhaps the most innocent someone can be, and that took over him so deeply that he vowed to never again indulge in violence, to never kill again. For Emmanuel, he didn't just choose the peace talks over those children. He also broke the first tenet to stay your blade from the flesh of an innocent. Despite Emmanuel taking on a vow of pacifism, he still remained with the assassins. But instead of going on field missions to assassinate targets, he acted as some sort of enforcer and trainer who works on weapon acquisition as well as training new recruits. He was eventually stationed to Altair II, which is a mobile headquarters for the Brotherhood in the form of a ship. While Emmanuel's main responsibilities are tied to weapons handling and training, he does tag along with other assassins in some field missions. During these times, he uses his investigation skills to inspect scenes and find out how things happened. I'm not sure if he has eagle vision like Arno, which enhances his investigation skills, or he's just a goat. Aside from his investigation skills, he also had a decent tolerance for pain. For example, in a mission where he and another assassin are looking into a Yakuza group, he tanked a hidden blade stab with his hands to save his fellow assassin. He did this after he realized that the Yakuza group that they were tailing were actually another group of assassins. Despite this though, Emmanuel's pacifism does seem like a risk for his fellow assassins. Taking the earlier scene, the fellow assassin that Emmanuel was with was actually Gavin Banks, the head of Altair 2 and for a time was the Brotherhood's mentor. You see, before Gavin was about to be stabbed, he was already getting beaten up by Kiyoshi, the assassin who was going to stab him. Gavin asked Emmanuel for help during that time, but Emmanuel simply shrugged it off and said that he was a pacifist and would not indulge in violence. But despite his vow of pacifism, he actually has no problem with his other assassins killing their enemies. For example, on a mission in Russia, Emmanuel and a few other assassins went to an assassin laboratory where other Brotherhood members have become mad and crazy due to the bleeding effect. During the mission, Emmanuel refused to carry a weapon or fight the crazy assassins. So he simply watched his fellow comrades assassinate the crazed Brotherhood members. While at first glance, Emmanuel's actions seem to come from his guilt, his inactions and the potential danger he is putting his other assassins when he tags along does raise questions. For instance, during a spy hunt, William Miles, Desmond's father, questioned him about his loyalty, how he was not helping his brothers during certain parts of a mission. William also raised the question that Emmanuel might be compromising the Brotherhood too since new recruits are coming from his previous military base, insinuating that Emmanuel might have told a lot of people about the Brotherhood. But despite this, Emmanuel simply told William that he was loyal to the cause, and he could either kill him where he stands or just leave him be. Emmanuel's story is actually a great tale in showcasing the assassin's responsibility to humanity. Manny broke the first tenet, probably in one of the worst ways possible, but he wasn't ejected from the Brotherhood, simply because the choice he made was for the greater good. He saved more innocents through his action rather than refusing to choose. Although one could argue that a Templar agent would have done the same, which showcases the thin line between the assassins and Templars. But I think the most interesting part of his story is the choice of staying in the Brotherhood. He knows the assassins without a doubt will kill again and again and again. Him staying meant that he will be in the vicinity of people who will go into danger and will kill. Take for example their mission in Russia, where he simply watched his teammates kill the crazy assassins. What would happen if someone needed help and he is the only one who could do anything, but it involves him hurting someone else? I mean, when he refused to help Gavin while he was getting beaten up by Kiyoshi, it showed that Emmanuel had no intention of breaking his pacifism even if it meant that his fellow assassins would be physically harmed. So if I was an assassin, I wouldn't want Emmanuel to be in my team, since I wouldn't be able to rely on him when things get dicey. Which begs another question. Why is William Miles allowing Emmanuel to stay with the Brotherhood and even go on dangerous missions? Well, I have no idea. But if I were to guess, I'd have to say that his investigation skills may probably be at an extremely high level that makes him so invaluable to the group. It was mentioned that he uses his expertise to know where bodies are and how they died, which might point to either a Sherlock Holmes level of observation, or he has eagle vision, which would make him an irreplaceable asset to the assassins. What do you think? Should the Brotherhood let go of Manny or keep him?